Good morning. One word: holiness. In this month, our bishop, along with his vocations team, are asking priests to preach about their own vocation and inviting all of us to reflect more deeply on what God is calling us to. If we want one word for what God is calling us to, it's that word: holiness. What is holiness? Simple definition that I like: holiness is Christ living in me. Sometimes we can get this impression that a priest is like, he's that professional God guy. He does the God stuff, and I live a normal life, the rest of people. But actually, what we're all being called to is holiness. It's normal for Catholics to be excited about their faith. It's normal for Catholics to want to pursue a deep relationship with God. It's normal to want to share it with other people. If you're okay with it, I'd like just to share with you a little bit of my story and how I came to be here, in particular as a priest. And I don't have a backup plan. So I grew up with a great priest. I went to St. Vincent de Paul in Albion. My pastor was Father Leo O'Brien. He's 95 now. I had dinner with him this week. And I was drawn to him because he was so normal. He was just a normal guy, and he was happy. And I remember it occurring to me when I was pretty young, like maybe in second or third grade. I was like, well, I want to be happy, and he seems happy, so maybe that's something I could do. Then I went to high school. Wah-wah. And what I think, terrified me, there were particular things that terrified me, but what I liked least was the thought that I might have to sacrifice something in my life. I wanted to do what I wanted to do. And so I decided, I'm not going to think about being a priest anymore. I'm going to live my own life. I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to get to pursue the things that I want to pursue. And I did. Generally, it made me miserable. Because getting what we want, pursuing the things that we want, just because we want them, as human beings, that always makes us miserable. Our lives are meant for something more than that. And I kept finding during this time, especially like my freshman, sophomore, into my junior year of high school, that I just kept wanting something more. Right? Every time I would get what I thought I wanted, it'd be nice to have it, and then almost immediately I would be disappointed and want something else, something more. That experience tells us something about who we are as human beings. We have a thirst for what's infinite, and every time we get what's limited or finite, we always want more. I kept finding during this time too that I kept thinking about being a priest. I didn't want to be a priest, but the thought just kept coming to me almost against my will. So I did the only reasonable thing you can do in that situation. I became an atheist. And I decided, if I decide God doesn't exist, I'll stop thinking about this. Everything will be easier. Guess what? It made me more miserable. And I was one of those people, not everybody's like this, but I didn't have a lot of courage to rebel or have to explain myself to other people. So my rebellion was all I just had this internal hurricane. And everybody could tell on the outside that I was miserable, but I wouldn't tell anybody why. And it was during this time that I kept, now that had got out of the way, he doesn't exist, he won't want me anymore, because I don't want him. I found, to my disappointment, that I kept wanting to be a priest. I didn't really even understand what a priest was, and I wanted nothing to do with what a priest is. And I kept wanting it. There were times where there was almost this physical desire for this thing that I didn't understand. I remember thinking, well, I keep wanting to be a priest, but I'm also an atheist. So can I do both? We're strange creatures. And there were a lot of things that happened, especially recognizing this pattern of dissatisfaction that is just part of human life when we're choosing things that aren't fulfilling. But a big part of what happened in my life was that I went to LaSalle and Troy, and at the beginning of my junior year, there had been a lot of turmoil in the school, and there were some parents who said, what if we stopped bickering at each other all the time and prayed more? Good parents. And so starting at the beginning of my junior year, every Thursday, from before school started until after school ended, with the help of one of the brothers at the school, there would be Eucharistic adoration. So the host from Mass, Jesus' body, would be exposed on the altar for people to come and pray. And one of the first weeks of my junior year, even though I think I was still probably an atheist or didn't know what was going on, I was mostly just desperate and miserable. I went and I knelt down in the back of the chapel there. And I experienced, I think for the first time ever in my life, actual peace. And with that peace, an awareness that the one who was in front of me was the fulfillment of every human desire. This was just the beginning of a lot of things. Of pursuing a deeper relationship with God, of returning to the sacraments, especially the sacrament of reconciliation, starting to meet with the priest regularly to try to understand what was going on. And then I went to college, and I was a regular college student. I discerned, was dating while I was studying. But it was the beginning, right, of trying to understand and give my life fully to whatever it was that God wanted. It's usually at this point in the story, and especially when I talk to people my own age, that people say something like, "That's awesome, man. Good for you. Do what you love. Love what you do." Which is great, but not the point here. Because I'm not doing what I loved. I'm doing what very specifically I did not want and tried to escape. And the one I tried to escape, the Lord who created us, he's not just somebody who had some niche plan for this weird guy because he's, I don't know, quirky or something, or odd, right? He's the desire of, I saw that look. Right? He's the desire of every human heart. He is the treasure, the deepest fulfillment of all of us. Everyone here and everyone who's not here. In our world that's so weighed down and broken and tired, for a lot of reasons, but one of the big ones being that it doesn't think he's real and it doesn't think he matters. God gives us priests because he cares about you. He cares about the details of your life. He cares about your joys. He cares about your struggle. He cares about what's going great and what's miserable. And he wants to bring into that his life, that we just call his grace. He wants to bring it to you in the sacrament of reconciliation, in the sacrament of the Eucharist, in the gift of the church. What we're being called to is holiness. If you're in the habit of asking regularly, maybe in the quiet of prayer, God, what do you want for me right now in my life? Keep going. If you're not in the habit of doing that regularly, start. because he has a plan for us, no matter what. God, we ask you to be with us in this moment, to show to us the desires of your heart, to reveal to us what it is that you desire for us. Help us to follow you freely, not trusting in ourselves. Give us peace and courage not to be afraid. Amen.